So Bellator's lightweight tournament bracket just got released, and I genuinely cannot wait for this. I'm actually really looking forward to Bellator's lightweight bracket tournament thingy. It's gonna be so good, man. The bantamweight tournament was quite fun. Now the lightweight tournament's been announced, and there's some big names on here, man. You've got the current champion, Usman Nurmagomedov, taking on Benson Henderson. You got Sydney Outlaw versus Mansour Barnawi. You got Tafik Musayev taking on Alexander Shabalai. Patricky Pitbull taking on AJ Naki. I mean, they did that on purpose, man. They did that on purpose. AJ Naki taking on Patricky Pitbull. Obviously, AJ McKee is 1-1 with Patricio Pitbull. His only loss in his whole career. But let's just get started, man. Let's get talking about it. Usman Nurmagomedov versus Benson Henderson is the first matchup that has been confirmed for Bellator. Almost said UFC. Bellator 292. It's gonna be on in March, on the 10th of March. It's gonna be pretty cool. Benson Henderson on a little bit of a win streak right now. In my opinion, he did lose to Islam Mamedov, but I guess it is what it is. Then he beat Peter Queally. But Usman Nurmagomedov, man, he's not even 25 years old. He's 16-0. He's so good. Like he's just so good. He's very well rounded. He's got great kickboxing. He's got great wrestling. I believe Usman Nurmagomedov isn't related to Khabib. I could be wrong. I could be really wrong. I think I am wrong on that one. But anyway, the point is he's 16-0. He's not even 25 years old. He just dominated Patricky Pitbull. Before that, he wasn't really beating the best competition, to be fair. But the way that he looked against Patricky Pitbull definitely tells me I think that he can beat Benson Henderson. And I think it's a good step to kind of keep getting Umar, like, building up his fights. Because he kind of did just jump the queue. He got a title shot of beating Chris Gonzalez, 11-8 opponent, 12-6 opponent, and 7-4 opponent. Usman had not beaten anyone ranked in Bellator, but he still won and was a pretty big favourite in that fight. I do think he might beat Mansour Barnawi, because we're going to talk about the next one, Sydney Outlaw versus Mansour Barnawi. That's going to be a fight, though. Mansour Barnawi, if he can get past Sydney Outlaw and then fight Usman Nurmagomedov, that's going to be such a massive fight that I cannot wait for. But Mansour Barnawi, he's been here, done this before. He's done these tournaments before. He did the Road to UFC tournament years ago, which was why I was a little bit unsure about his return against Adam Piccolotti, because he took about 3.5 years off. Like, what was bro doing, man? I know you won the $1 million, but I wish he was more active. I wish he was fighting, you know. I wish he was hungry, you know. But I think he is hungry, man. I think this tournament's really going to spark up a fire in him, and he is also going to be fighting. Not actually on March, so he's going to be fighting quite far away. He's going to be fighting in April, May. He's going to be fighting in May in France. In the co-main event, Mousasi versus Edwards is the main event. Outlaw versus Barnawi is the co-main event. I think it's going to be a pretty good card, stacking up to be a good one. I got Mansour Barnawi in this one to beat Sydney Outlaw. I do think he's going to get a finish. And him versus Usman Nurmagomedov is going to be such a good fight that I'm going to be so looking forward to. But I think Barnawi is going to finish Sydney Outlaw. Sydney Outlaw is coming off a very quick KO loss to Tafik Musayev, but he has beaten some pretty good guys. He's beaten Adam Piccolotti, who was the last opponent Barnawi fought, but I'm looking forward to it then. Tafik Musayev versus Alexander Shabalai is the next matchup, and this one is going to be in March, actually, I believe, on the same card as Usman Nurmagomedov taking on Benson Henderson. Pretty cool, man. I like that. Tafik Musayev taking on Shabalai. One thing I do wish, though, is I wish the brackets were on the same month, because Usman Nurmagomedov's going to probably beat Benson Henderson in March, and then he's going to know that he's going to fight the winner of these two, so he's got 2 months more preparation for the fight, where these guys don't quite have it. So that's one thing I do kind of have against this sort of system. I do wish that they compressed the fights a little bit more, had them on the same card maybe, I don't know. But Tafik Musayev versus Alexander Shabalai, I do have Alexander Shabalai in the matchup. He's looked very good recently, beat Primus. Bobby King, he's having an okay run at the moment. Alfie Davis is a young guy coming up. And aside from that, he hasn't fought in Bellator. But Tafik Musayev, I believe, made his Bellator debut. Against Sydney Outlaw, knocked him out in 30 seconds. He lost to Roberto de Souza, who just fought AJ McKee, but Roberto de Souza has been a pretty dominant champion at Ryzen before he fought AJ McKee. He also beat Patricky Pitbull as well, which is a very good win that I think does need to be brought up more often, because Patricky Pitbull was the champion at one point. But I do like Alexander Shabalai here. I think he's going to have to stay safe, because Tafik Musayev is going to try and take his head off, but I do like Alexander Shabalai in the matchup. And he's going to face the winner of Patricky Pitbull versus AJ McKee Jr., which is going to be another very intriguing matchup. Now, this fight hasn't been booked. This Patricky versus AJ McKee. It would be a somewhat safe assumption that maybe it's on the same date as this Paris card, but I know neither guy are probably the biggest draw to a local Paris card, so it'll be interesting to see when that fight is actually made. I don't think it'll be in March. I think it'll be sometime between March and May. But Patricky Pitbull, former UFC Bellator champion, former Bellator champion, not UFC champion, sorry. He beat Peter Queally to win the belt after a 2-fight losing streak. That happens, I guess. But yeah, I think Patricio Pitbull vacated the title, and then let his brother fight for the title. So he fought Peter Queally for the title and won the vacant title. So that works, I guess. But yeah, Usman Nurmagomedov dominated him, become the champion, and now he's gonna be fighting AJ McKee. I do think AJ McKee beats Patricky Pitbull. Patricio's always kind of been like the big dog, you know what I mean? The guy that everyone talks about. Patricky's he's the older guy, I think. He's the older brother, I think. But yeah, he went on a very good run at one point. But I'm just more convinced that AJ McKee's gonna win. And AJ McKee looked so good against Roberto de Souza. I wasn't sure how I felt about him being at 155, but I feel like he's trying to fill into 155. So, and I like that. I really do like how he looked against Roberto de Souza, and that really does kind of let me feel like I think he can beat Patricky Pitbull. The next fight would be interesting though, him versus Tafik Masai versus Alexander Shabalay. That's where things get very, very interesting. But I will say one thing, I do feel like this tournament has potentially been made for McKee to eventually fight Usman Nurmagomedov, because that's the money fight. That's the big fight that I feel like they're going to be trying to target. Because if AJ McKee gets there, he's going to win 2 fights to get there. So he's going to be 22-1, and then Usman Nurmagomedov will be 18-0. Like, that would just be a massive matchup. But Musayev versus Shabalay, or Shabalay versus AJ McKee is very interesting to me. Barnawi versus Usman Nurmagomedov is a lot more interesting to me than Outlaw versus Nurmagomedov. That's a really fun matchup, but I do think just because of how dominant Usman has looked, I think I would still favour him to beat Mansour Barnawi. But imagine if Mansour Barnawi beats Usman Nurmagomedov. UFC will be kicking in themselves that they didn't get that fight made. But yeah, man, I like this tournament. If you're looking for an excuse to get into Bellator, if you're not too familiar with Bellator, I really recommend that you watch this tournament, or at least pay attention to it. If you're just a UFC fan but you want to get into more, start here. You know what I mean? Start here. Start at Bellator. Start at arguably the second biggest promotion in the world. I know One and PFL probably do have arguments to make for that, but talent-wise, One and Bellator are probably number 2. I mean, PFL is alright, but they just don't have the same level fighters as Bellator and One do, in my opinion. But yeah, I think I like Bellator's tournament style. I really do, and I'm looking forward to it. So let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the tournament. I think it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.